Well, it's a pleasure for me today to introduce you to Sherry Flemming. Sherry is the Executive Director of Nova Scotians United for Life.
Yes.
So I've asked Sherry to meet with me to talk a little bit about what Nova Scotians United for Life is. So Sherry, over to you.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I was a part of this parish for many years before moving to Alberta for 13 years and newly back for about a year. And for the last several months, as Father Rob said, I've been working with Nova Scotians United for Life. So Nova Scotians United for Life is a registered charity. We've been around for over 50 years now. Many people know Margot Burke, who is the previous executive director. We're affiliated with the Archdiocese, so supported with them. Mostly what we do is educational, pro-life education, to try and engage and encourage the faithful mostly, but also and beyond about important life topics, so that we as a Catholic culture have a sound understanding of life issues. So that's really what we're trying to do, is to continue to have ongoing discussions and informed discussions with our communities to uphold the dignity and sanctity of life. So education is our primary concern, but also we also have Project Rachel, which is a healing ministry for post-abortive women and men. We actually have men and couples going through Project Rachel now as well.
How does Project Rachel work?
So how Project Rachel works is when people contact us and they're having difficulty in their lives. So many women and men post-abortion, there are extreme negative consequences to one's physical and mental health when they make the decision to abort. So there oftentimes is what we call post-abortive syndrome. It's something that can be experienced by women and men, and it can have some physical implications, but mostly it's spiritual, emotional, and social implications, because it changes, when people make a choice to do something like abortion, it fundamentally changes the foundation of how they are in relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that changes how we're in relationship with each other as well.
Yeah.
With ourselves.
Yes, indeed. I was recently in Chilliwack, BC at a youth camp out there that was rented by the Archdiocese of Vancouver, where I was supporting a retreat for Momentum, which is a ministry to single mothers.
Right.
And so we had part of the camp facility. The other part of the camp facility, it wasn't organized this way, it just happened to be this way, was being used, and we shared a common dinner hall, by Project Rachel.
Oh, excellent.
And so just imagine the difference in the spiritual needs of all of these women who were there. Some were single moms dealing with the difficulty of raising a child or children alone, and others were there for post-abortion healing, sometimes years and years, sometimes decades after the abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first arrived, I was concerned about how this dynamic is going to play out. And just over the course of 3 days, there was just so much joy shared between the two groups because of the common love for life that they had come to understand, and the gift of life as it is. There was no shame, it was just simply beautiful and alive. So that's just one little thing
your observation, and that's so great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is visible. And as a facilitator for Project Rachel, I just got involved as a facilitator since coming back home here. You can visually see the change in people, in their demeanor,
Yes.
in the way they express themselves, in their peace, their joy. Obviously, it's a process, right? Because as they go through Project Rachel, which is a 10-week program, we can do it for individuals, or we can offer it for groups. We do it virtually. We also do it in person, so it's very flexible. As a facilitator, you see it. You see people coming in, they're tore up. They don't even fully understand what the implications of their life have been. Some people have really suppressed it for over a decade, maybe a couple of decades. Some people, they've just been kind of struggling through it for a couple of years, and they know right away that fundamentally that they recognize that shift in themselves. So some people come forward for healing earlier than others. Some people, it takes them a while to recognize, but regardless, you see that shift, whether they've been dealing with this for decades or just a couple of years or just a couple of months. You see this change in them, and it's like you said, it's beautiful. And
I want you to know that as a priest in the church, I too have seen that change with women who have come to me, sought out the counsel of a priest, and I was just honored to be brought in these conversations. I have seen the change. As to how someone felt about themselves post-abortion, but pre-Project Rachel, and the freedom that Project Rachel has restored them to. It's beautiful. Again, I know I use this expression a lot, but as a priest in the church, I feel like I get front row seats to seeing the healing beauty that the Holy Spirit continues to do in our midst.
It's amazing, that God entrusts us to work through, because I'll speak for myself, I know my own struggles, I know my own personal struggles, and to see that God, gives his healing hand in the little effort that I'm putting forth to try and support his work of healing. It's beautiful. So I can imagine what it feels like from a priest's perspective to be able to engage the sacraments and you get to do the full meal.
It's beautiful. So beautiful. So amazing. I know Nova Scotians United for Life is also heavily involved in the conversation around euthanasia, or as the federal program is called in Canada, medical assistance in dying. I know you've mentioned that we had a session here in our own parish. The audio quality was so poor, it's not very usable. But I understand that there's a session that was recorded, was put on by CMDA, the Christian Medical and Dental Association in Canada. It was recorded, and it will be available on your website for folks who are interested in learning a little more about what medical assistance in dying is. In our parish, we also had Monica McNamara speak at the MAID event that we had here. Monica is a palliative care nurse, and so she brought to the table what palliative care is and isn't, so that we could better understand this medical assistance in dying thing.
Right. So I'll speak to kind of to both of those pieces. So with abortion, we have abortion legal in Canada right up until full term. A couple of weeks ago, there was a baby was aborted at 38 weeks. And that's really what Nova Scotians United for Life is about. It's about educating not just ourselves, but then disseminating that information with the faithful. So that's what we're doing is really collecting the most current up-to-date information and putting it together in chunks that are easily shareable and digestible for people and disseminating it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're looking for people to partner with us. We're looking to have a parish liaison in every parish. That's kind of our part of our strategic plan as an organization is to make sure that in every parish we have a representative who is known, that's connected to our organization, that is getting this information and sharing it within their parish community, so that these conversations are happening. So there's something happening in our culture that we're feeling this need to understand life, the dignity, the sanctity, the value, the respect for how we treat each other, how we engage other people.
I'm aware of around the medical assistance in dying agenda. I'm aware of non-faith-based individuals who are tremendously concerned about where this is already leading. So I think there's a real call here for us to understand the essence of what life is, really.
Right.
And all of these things touch on what is life, and therefore, if we have an understanding of what life is, it's something not to be treated lightly, so that we can make informed decisions, policy decisions around it. And so a lot of this, if you're interested in learning more about this, it'll be covered in this video that will be posted on your website.
Right.
That was given by Deacon Larry Worthen, who's the Executive Director of the Christian Medical and Dental Society, Christian Medical and Dental Association. And that's posted right on your website if you're interested in learning more about MAID and the issues around it.
Yes,
Yeah?
so it'll be posted on the CMDA website as well.
Yeah.
And we are affiliated with all of these pro-life groups in our province and beyond. So when we see good content like that, we make it available on our website and our new social media that we've just started. So yes, more information can be had about that. But I think it's important for people to understand the kind of the highlights, which is that currently in Canada, anybody with a disability, including mental health, if you have ADHD, if you have autism, if you have, mental health, a diagnosed mental health disorder, which we know these things are transient, these stages as we move through disability and mental health and physical health, our state and quality of life and our inner kind of compass it's ever changing. And so what's happened now is people who are vulnerable are now being offered and even encouraged to be euthanized. That's become a normal intervention and prescription from our medical community, is to offer people in vulnerable states, the disabled, mentally unhealthy, that's the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
So
I want you to know that not so many months ago, I wouldn't have believed that statement. Not so many months ago, I would have heard someone say that and thought it was hyperbole. But I know it's true because of some individual instances with people and witnesses who have reported the exact same thing. It's frightening. It
is, because when you look at the landscape demographically of Canada, it's 27% of the population in 2022, which is close to, well, it's over a quarter of our population, aged 15 or older, have at least one disability. So that means legally they're vulnerable to MAID.
If that's not currently enacted, though, is it? That's the proposed act.
So the legislation right now, from information that was shared in Deacon Larry's presentation, my understanding is that anybody with a diagnosed disability qualifies for MAID now. That's mental health. That's physical.
Okay.
And or chronic illness.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
So just disability alone, that's 27% of our population. You add on chronic illness to that, I don't know what that would put us.
Yeah.
That's scary statistics.
Yeah, it's really quite something to get our heads around. So tell me about what we can do. How does Nova Scotians United for Life, how are you encouraging people to respond to this? What's your call to action?
So our call to action is kind of multifaceted. One is to inform ourselves. We need to be abreast about what's happening. I know there's a lot of information out there. I know we're bombarded with responsibilities and so much information coming at us. But we need to kind of take personal responsibility to engage these critical changes and developments in our culture and in our day-to-day life. And so that's part of my passion and part of my mission, personally and as part of Nova Scotians United for Life, is just to engage that in a positive way. Obviously, I mean, when we start talking about these statistics and what's happening, it can seem very like negative and can seem like we're talking about doom and gloom. But we want to engage it so that we're doing it in a way that honors God and honors life, right? So we need to engage what's happening in the culture in a way that glorifies God and that upholds that dignity and sanctity and respect for all life. So that's part of it, is informing ourselves so that we can do that in our own circle of influence.
And I'd like to say that, as a priest in church, when we invoke the name of God, I think there are so many misunderstood notions of what God is or who God is. God is not some angry dude with a beard on a cloud who can't wait to send down a lightning bolt. God is. God is essence. Mm-hmm. God is existence. God is the first ordering principle behind everything. God simply is. When Moses encountered God in the burning bush, and Moses said, "Who should I say that sent me? This crazy thing you're asking me to do, to go down and free your people from slavery." Mm-hmm. God just said, basically, in translated into English, is tell them, "I am who I am sent you." I am. It's the essence of isness in us that sent us to free us from slavery, the slavery of things that evoke fear and death, to bring us into the freedom of the light, not hiding in the darkness of death.
Exactly. And I love how you laid that out, because God, in his goodness, in his gracious, and his great love for us, I don't know what he sees in us, honestly, because when I look around, I'm like, Lord, how have you not given up on all of us, myself included? Yeah. But he's so good. He's so gracious. Yes. He's so wonderful to us that he continues to invite us to cooperate with him.
So that we can be restored. So we can know this peace that surpasses all understanding. Amen. So we can know the healing in our lives, that in spite of any and all bad decisions that we may have made that we thought was giving us life but was participating in depriving us of freedom, he can restore it all, so we know the freedom again.
It's true. And so that's why I'm here, right? Yeah. Exactly what you're saying, Father Rob, because God has healed and restored me, and he's healed and restored family members and friends, and that's how I know that this freedom and this joy and this peace exists, because when we've received that healing, that joy, that peace, that restoration, that sense of redemption, and knowing our identity in God, then he says, well, I'm glad you know now, because now it's time for you to be my hands and feet, for you to be the salt and light, for you to engage in this and cooperate with me and offer this healing. And like you said, the fruits of that we get to witness, when I'm facilitating Project Rachel, or when I'm participating in a choice chain downtown. I get to see on the faces of people who haven't even contemplated these so important life issues, and then when we start talking about them and truth starts to really seep into their soul, it's almost like you're sensing the presence of God.
Absolutely.
In the conversation and in their being and how it's being received in them.
Yeah. I'm still a bit of a work in progress, so I'm glad that you have just radiated such restorative joy there. That's wonderful. So call to action. Tell me about how people can respond.
Okay. So that's part of our job, Nova Scotians United for Life, or NSUL for short. We provide resources. So we have material that's available free that we can share. We're also here to have those conversations. If people have family members or friends that are considering euthanasia or abortion or fertility, they're looking into fertility or sexually transmitted diseases or chastity, or things that they're looking for support in having these conversations, or they're looking for a speaker to maybe come for an event, that's part of what we do. So we provide materials, we have those conversations. It's not just me. We have volunteers, we have a board. Nova Scotians United for Life is a director and a board run organization, so I'm accountable to my board. We have an amazing, dynamic, passionate group of men and women that love God and are very passionate about this work. If people are willing to become kind of a contact, a parish contact, we would love to hear from people. So if you don't have a pro-life contact that's connected to Nova Scotians United for Life in your parish, please do get in touch with us. We would love to have you come on board as a volunteer. So yes, people can partner with us in a variety of ways. We have events. So we have our yearly pro-life event that happens every fall. So you can come just register, be a part of that. This year it's going to be November 23rd at St. Vincent de Paul, and it's open to everybody. So we've got Bishop Martin Curry is scheduled to be one of our speakers. We have Alana Cormier, who is, I believe, a palliative care nurse.
She's an emergency room physician.
Oh, physician,
yeah,
okay.
She is. And she actually spoke to all the priests in the diocese on medical assistance in dying last week.
Okay, wonderful. Mm-hmm. So I haven't met her. I've just been hearing because we have a subcommittee of people that are working on this. So I'm doing some things, but they're doing a lot more than me. So Sherry, thank you for coming in. Any last words before we bring this to a close? I guess I would like to say that we sometimes can see ourselves as not having a lot to offer or not being able to make the impact that we'd like to make. And I would just invite people to rethink that, because God's already shown us so many ways, but just let's go to the miracle of the fishes and the loaves, right? That boy, that young boy just brought what he had. And I believe that to be true. And even in this position, like I'm a registered social worker. I'm not an executive director. Like I don't have any experience for that. And then somehow this just kind of landed in my lap. And I've prayed about it and thought, Lord, I think maybe you chose the wrong person. I don't really
I know that feeling.
Know how to do this.
Yeah.
And so, but I would encourage people, strongly encourage people to dismiss that voice of doubt, fear, whatever we want to call that, and to be willing to offer whatever it is that we have and listen to those little inspirations in our hearts that says, well, I could have a conversation. I can inform myself. I can make a step in being a voice for the goodness of life and upholding that dignity and sanctity that we all share as human beings, and to have hope, right? That if we're engaged in this work, it's going to go somewhere because God's in this, and we're not alone. We're doing this in response to His call on our heart, to His call on our life. We really owe this to Him, right? And so that's why I couldn't say no, even though I felt like I wasn't really maybe the right person. I'm like, but I feel like He's asking me, so I got to at least try it. So then I'm like, okay, well, if I fall on my face, then, well,
you'll learn.
Well, God wanted to teach me humility then, or whatever. But yes, I would say get involved, do what you can. There's events, there's activities. I know we're hosting a small group in the fall, or potentially hosting the Living with Christ, Dying with
Yes, that's right.
Hope
That's a program
series. So we can get involved in all of these things. There's prayer cards in at the back of the church with not only a prayer. Obviously, we need our prayer warriors to support everything that we're doing, that we're trying to do to uphold a culture of life. But there's also some things that they can do to engage that. Emailing, phoning our MLAs and our representatives, and just making those steps. It's all available on the card. So if people want to do that and they're having any issues with doing any of those things, they can get in touch with me or Nova Scotians United for Life and have a conversation with somebody to find out how they can be involved more. That would be lovely. So that's my final comment is we have hope because we know who wins all of these little battles, and to get out and get in the battle because we can't win if we're not in the battle.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Thank you for your yes to this ministry. Thank you for your clear passion for issues of life. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Father Robin. Thank you for having me. Thank you for partnering with us to do this, support this great work that we know the Lord is going to bless. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye. God bless.